All right. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Mental Health Mondays. I am, of course, Mind Runner, also known as Ron. And my guest at this time and now, he Everything Podcast. And like the bagel, he talks about everything, aka Solo LouKoa of the Wrestling is Trash podcast. He is a card-carrying cult of Black Phillip member. He is the eater of tacos and the breaker of hearts in all 50 states, including North Carolina. He is known as the top rope squishy guest MVP. He is a guest at this time, Lou from the Bronx.
Thank you. No applause. No photographs. Thank you.
Yep. He doesn't want to be photographed today.
I gotta say, I don't know if that's a record. So this is gonna go all over the place. So I saw that you had. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. Hello to everyone who frequents this program. I thank you very much. So I saw that you have this show, and I didn't want to watch anything because you asked me to come on, and I wanted to be fresh. I didn't want to if you did. I don't know if you do questions or Squishy puts you on the hot seat or something like that. I wanted to be surprised, and I gotta say that was the greatest shit ever. I've never gotten a intro like that. I'm clipping that, and I'm going to retweet the shit out of that. That was amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Hey, and I meant every word of it. It's pretty awesome. I am a new fan of the Everything Podcast because I just started doing some research, and if you ever need a guest on that,
Oh yeah,
I know
it's funny.
I know a guy.
Yeah. It's funny because you, so my show is so weird. My show is I started it in 2016. And it was just kind of obviously it's called the Everything Podcast. So I like to talk about comics, sports, movies, TV, pop culture, politics, whatever. That's why I called it the Everything Podcast, because it was whatever's on my scatterbrained mind, that's what I'm going to talk about this week.
Yeah.
And after a couple years, I kind of got to the point where I hit a crossroads with that show where it's I don't know where I want to take it now. And it's I should have focused on a thing so that I could every week do that thing. But now I'm just kind of I don't know. But why I brought that up is because I've only ever had 2 guests on the show.
Oh, wow.
That's it, 2. Because I don't have guests. It's not like a guest show. I don't do interviews or anything of that nature. The only guest I've had on that show is my brother, Joe, where we did me and him he's my brother. So obviously since childhood we've been following comics and all that, so we reviewed Black Panther and stuff like that. And then one other guest was Dan the Mayor Dinkins, who, shout out to him, he's out there somewhere.
Shout out to him.
I had him on my show one time, but that was it. But I will make an exception for the great Mind Runner Ron to come onto the show.
I would be honored. I would be honored to be added to the Everything Bagel. I would love to do that.
Oh yeah,
but it's interesting too, because how that gets how everybody kind of finds their groove. I mean, this is the Mental Health Mondays podcast, but mental health covers such a wide spectrum. I might be talking to a wrestler one day, and then I might be talking to one of my colleagues from work, or I might be talking to a childhood friend, or talking to an expert in a specific, trauma expert or something. It goes such a wide variety, and I think that is important to keep your options open and really go, because here's the thing: you're not faking the funk, you're not pretending, you're going with your heart, and you're going with what truly interests you. I mean, like them or not, that's kind of how folks like Joe Rogan do their podcast, because he goes with what's interesting to him. I mean, he'll have a nuclear physicist on one day, and then a stand-up comedian on Tuesday,
and he'll have a DMT expert on the next
a cannabis farmer or something. So I think that's important too, and I think that with today's technology, it's great to have the availability for so many voices.
Right.
When I was growing up, and I assume when you and I were both growing up, it was a little bit, society was a lot different with less technology. Do you feel like, good and bad, how has society changed around you with technology?
It's funny because I feel like we're in the same age group. We don't have to state our ages. That's okay.
No,
Uh
it's all good,
so,
all good.
yeah, no, of course.
Don't let the beard throw anybody off here.
Right. So I feel like we're in the same age group, and I've talked about this on my show before, where I feel like I have more of a responsibility to kind of not so much direct people, but kind of like touch all bases with people about all these different things. Because, dude, I grew up with tape players, and I had the greatest technological advance that I knew of when I was a kid was the goddamn boombox that had the record
Yes,
and the play tape, so I could like borrow somebody's tape and record their tape, and I have it for free. Like, that was the greatest invention ever for me.
absolutely. Same here. I had the same thing,
Yeah,
and to make my mixes too.
yeah. And now look, this thing,
Yeah, I got more songs on this
dude.
than my
Yeah, it's like
entire case.
your whole life is like routed through this thing. Like, I can record my podcast on this. I don't
Mhm.
like the audio the way it comes out sometimes on there, but I
Yeah,
could do it if I need to. And you touched on that just now, and I think that's very important. I try to tell people all the time, because when people find out you have a podcast, they start asking a bunch of questions, and of course, one of the first thing they say is, I was thinking about starting one of those, and I was like, and I always tell them, I go, dude, go ahead and do it.
yes.
What do you like? Oh, I have a girl who I was literally just talking to, a friend of mine for years and years and years. And she's like, she just discovered I had a podcast. And I'm like, cool, that's cool. Thank you for listening, blah, 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 blah. And she's telling me she's like thought about it, and she's been wanting to do it. And she's my age. And she's like, she doesn't really know how. And I'm like, you have a phone? She goes, yeah. Does you have Facebook? And she goes, of course. And I go, okay, like, what's stopping you? It's very
Yeah.
easy to just download this app, and you press the record button, like Anchor FM. I don't know if you do ads or any of that stuff, or what I don't want to
Well,
misspeak, but
Anchor
Anchor
FM. There you
FM.
go. Unofficial
Well,
sponsor.
the unofficial sponsor of the show. It's actually, I don't know if it still exists now, because Spotify bought it, so now it's called like Spotify for podcasting. But that app, you can literally grab it, record. Podcast doesn't have to be 3 hours. A lot of people seem to be confused about that. You could do a 15-minute podcast if you like. Record your content, press send, upload it to the internet. You now have a podcast. That's how easy it is. And I try to tell people, but I think they're a little intimidated by the whole thing. It's what you want it to be.
And I think a lot of that comes from, like, there is a little bit of that stage fright, and you got to jump. If you're thinking about it, just do it, and you learn best by plunging. It's not going to be perfect the first time, and it's no matter how, and you just got to be consistent with it. And I think that's another thing that's important, is consistency. Is just, if you want to do it, and if it brings you joy, continue to do it. And you may not get a single listener for like thousands of episodes, and then one day, boom. Before you know it. I mean, going back to Joe Rogan, he started just doing it on his couch with a couple of his buddies, and then now he's like one of the top podcasts.
It's the biggest podcast ever.
He's the biggest podcast ever. And it's like, you never know who's listening. You never know when things are going to take off. But I also think, going back to what we were talking about before, being genuine, like what you asked her was, what are you into? And I think that comes across, is what you're truly into. People can sense if you're being fake. One of the things I promised myself is, I don't want to bring anybody on I don't want to talk to. You know what I mean? Like, I want to bring, I want to have those genuine conversations. And hence, Lou from the Bronx.
One of the things I brought up my friend, because I think this is kind of important to the conversation in case anyone's out there wanting to start one. I asked her what it is that she has a passion for. She said knitting. And she was like, I know it's kind of stupid, but like, I like to knit, and I don't think people are. And I go, dude, You have no idea. You probably have a niche right there where that you could have a podcast where hundreds of people are listening to that. Because knitting, I know knitting is popular, and there's probably people out there who love knitting, and they're like, damn, I wish I had a podcast that I could listen to that's about knitting.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who get really into their hobby, and they want to, they want to put their wallpaper, they get shirts, they get hats, they want it all. They want all that content, so they do. So I was like, dude, that's a great idea. You could do a thing on YouTube about knitting. It doesn't even have to be that long, and boom, you're in.
Absolutely. And that's another aspect about not social media, but just like technology in general, is it's linking up all these fandoms that otherwise, like, you may not know anybody on your block that's into knitting, but then you go online and you find the thousands upon thousands of people that are. I don't know if I think a mutual Twitter friend of ours, Shining Polaris, she does the yarn books. She knits, she creates these the AEW wrestlers out of yarn. I mean, that's one example. And like, every time I go to like a fair or a show or something, there's usually at least one or two booths where there's people selling their knitting crafts. So I think, like, kind of what you're saying is, like, if you have a passion to make a podcast, it could be about knitting, it could be about collecting rocks, it could be about anything. Go for it, because if you have that passion, if you're into it, chances are there's a lot of people out there that are feeling the same way, but they're probably not thinking like, oh man, I'm the only person that's into this. And then they find your podcast and boom, you've got an audience.
Yeah. It's podcasting is amazing in that way, where you can just find it's almost like the same with YouTube. Like, YouTube is one of the great tools. You were talking about technology in our generational, like a generational thing as far as technology. YouTube is like, it's like the greatest, the unintentionally greatest tool ever. You can get a whole education on YouTube, and like a literal education.
Yep.
Like, I had a couple months back, I needed to, what was it? It was in the damn car. It was something. I had to replace. So I needed to replace spark plugs and ignition coils.
Mm-hmm.
I am not mechanical in any way.
Yep.
I don't know shit about shit when it comes to cars. My thing with cars is I find a mechanic and I go, here's money, fix the car,
fix it.
That's me. And I was unemployed for a while and blah blah blah. So money was whatever. So me and my brother bought the spark plugs and ignition coils because my car was acting up. And dude, YouTube, Chrysler 200 replaced spark plugs, and it was like a 5-minute video.
Right.
And this guy was like, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm going to show you how to replace blah, blah, blah. And he literally, I was just like, oh shit, this is easy. Like, this is literally easy. You just go, you put the grease, you turn the thing real slow, you take the nut out, and then you take the plug out. And it was like 5 steps. And I was like, I can't believe I just did this shit. My car's running smooth as shit now. And YouTube, it was free.
You got it on YouTube for free. It makes you wonder, like, do you think that education is evolving? From the standpoint, it used to be like you were told, you got to graduate high school, and then you got to get a college degree. You got to do all this. But now it seems like there's so many opportunities. There's so many new careers too, but you can learn just about anything. And do you really need to pay all this money to go to college when you can learn a lot of this, especially the trades that are so desperately needed out there? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's incredible because I'm actually a college student at the moment. It was a long journey for me to get to like where I'm at right now, as far as life happens and you drive these crazy directions. I ended up divorced and homeless for a while, and then I ended up back here in Davie, Florida, where I live now with my brother, my mom, and went back into college because I've always been fascinated by the medical field.
Nice.
So I was medical assistant for a while. Then I went sonography. Right now I'm trying to get into the nursing program. So why I bring that up is because most of the colleges, and this is an actual college, it's not like a technical school. This is Broward College. This is like a college.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is online. Like and I know it's due to COVID and all that too, but it's like I'm sitting here taking classes, English, math, science, psychology, art, all that shit. microbiology, chemistry at home. Like I didn't even understand how that was gonna work.
All right,
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I was like, how the hell am I supposed to take chemistry at home? But turns out it's like all equations and shit.
All right, what you got to do is you got to go up to Winn-Dixie and get yourself, get yourself
beakers,
some iodine and
beakers and baking soda and all types of shit. But it's funny because I've been doing that the last year and a half. I took a break because I needed to work and get some money to pay these credit cards off. So I've been working, and I was like, all right, I'll get back to class in a month or 2 or 3 once I get my feet wet with this new job. And I got an email from Microsoft a few months ago. This was almost like 6 months ago about something called Power Plus. There's another thing in there, but I can't remember exactly what it is. It's a new program that they've got. It teaches you this new like programming language and how to create apps and how to do all these things. And at first I didn't think much of it. I signed up for it and I kind of sent it away because they had a very long waiting list and they just accepted me.
Oh wow.
And it's a long wait, but if you wait, they'll send you the acceptance thingy. It's free. It's 100% free. And they teach you, it's like a class, and they teach you this new it's like a new app system that they're creating within Microsoft. So kind of like a Google Play Store kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's mainly focused on apps, but they do a lot of other things too. And I was looking at the financials of it because I was like, okay, if I get this and I graduate, because they give you a certificate and everything when you graduate and you can use it. I was like, what's the running salaries for some of these things? They also give you you can get board certified. They give you a credit that you can use to pay for the board certification test.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, what's the salary range like when I just out of curiosity. And I looked, $120,000 fucking dollars. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So now I'm like, okay, do I focus on this thing or do I focus on, like, I don't know. So I'm like at a crossroads. But the thing is, there's so many options available to people right now.
Yeah.
It's incredible how many options you have in front of you. Even as far as social media goes, if you can figure out a way to blow up like on TikTok or something, you can make money there. Like, it's just, there's a bunch of different ways to get things done now. Way more so than when we were younger. When we were younger, it was go to high school, go to college and get your degree and go start working. Like, that was it. That was the only way. Now it's not like that.
It's tremendous. And who knows what's going to be available 10 years from now. There might be quantum rocket maintenance app person or something like that.
I think we're on the precipice of something very, 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 it's like almost scary how fast it's going. All the AI that's happening now.
Yeah. ChatGPT.
Things are happening very fast. Like very, very fast. I saw a video today where kids in Harvard, they were in a lab. I guess they were taking a test, and they used an AI chat software to do their test. And it was just like he pressed the button, and that shit just went down his quiz, and it was like A B A B B B A 14 out of 14 correct. I was like, holy shit, dude!
Yeah, you can pass the bar exam with ChatGPT.
That's crazy, bro.
It's changing. It's definitely changing how professors run their college courses. I don't know if you heard about the kids that got busted because they were writing all their papers using ChatGPT, and then the professor starts reading one of them, and then in the middle of the paper it says, "As an AI language bot."
They left the opening paragraph. They left the opening paragraph as a dumbass.
You got to proofread that. But it's
you can't be that lazy, bro. They're writing the thing's writing the whole paper for you. You could at least proofread it, bro.
Yeah. I think it's good from the standpoint of for teaching writing stuff. I think the hardest thing for a lot of when I was teaching students how to write, the hardest thing was to get them started, get that rough draft.
Right.
And ChatGPT can do that, but as long as they then take it and make it their own and evolve it and edit and go from there.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. I used it like last month, so I've started, because I used to enjoy writing like a lot when I was younger. Unfortunately, I don't have the time that I used to have. When you get older, time is like the most valuable thing there is. And I find myself not having all the time that I had when I was younger to do this kind of silly shit I like to do. I used Chat GPT to write an article for Wrestling is Trash. I did. I didn't copy and paste it. I had ideas and I put it into the thing, and it spit out a whole bunch of paragraphs, bro.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, okay. And I grabbed it all and I kind of moved it around and did
Tweaked
stuff
it,
to it and personalized it and made it my own. And I was like, okay, boom. And that saved me a lot of time. Like it really did.
And the obvious scary part, of course, is, I mean, anybody that's seen the Terminator movies, you know, when Skynet becomes self-aware, but also the more I think that probably the more realistic fear, right, or more immediate fear, is how many jobs are going to be lost due to AI. Like, you know, companies laying off, you know, different people because they could just do a Chat GPT or have an AI take care of it instead. Yeah, the impact that it's had on the art. I know a lot of artists, a lot of graphic artists are upset about the AI art.
Oh yeah, that's a big matter of contention right now with people, is that and the music. I saw something about a month ago, and it was actually a little scary. Someone was using an AI chatbot, and they told the AI chatbot, my daughter's dog just died. Tell my daughter, without hurting her feelings, that the dog just died. And the Chat GPT was lying to the kid. And they were trying to figure out, why is it doing that? Like, they couldn't figure out why it was doing it. And then one of the questions that popped up from like one of the professors was like, does it feel bad? Like, they were thinking that the actual chat AI bot like felt bad and didn't want to hurt the feelings of the kid, so it was lying to it. And if that's the case,
wow,
then that is some shit.
That's
a really scary shit, dude.
You heard about the reporter that the AI went stalker on him. Like, the first started professing its love for him. Like, well, they started it was just a basic thing, and he was a reporter just playing around with it. And then it started getting all like single white female on him, like trying to convince him to leave his wife. And that's some scary stuff. But we got to remember that these apps they're programmed by humans, but it scours the internet for all these things, and it's I don't know.
But that's the thing people don't seem to understand with these things. It's like it takes. So the point of those chatbots and those devices is that it takes an incomprehensible amount of information and processes it so fast and spits an answer out to you that's where you save your time. That's like the general idea of these things. Like, you know, instead of you going, okay, I gotta get my encyclopedias and research all this shit, and okay, this is the answer. No, the AIs do it like that. And at what point at one point is it that it's processing information, or is it learning? You know what I mean? Like, are these things learning something? Are they just processing info and going, okay, blah, here you go, here's your answer? Because, you know, of course, the Terminator, the whole Skynet thing, is eventually these things get to a point where they realize, hey, you know what? You guys invented me to like protect you, but the problem is you motherfuckers are all self-destructive. So eventually I'm gonna fail because of you. So you know what? I'm gonna take all yous the fuck out right now.
Yeah.
That's what Skynet did.
The best way to protect humanity is to eliminate it.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you know, I'm not saying that's gonna. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen, and I'm not saying we're at that point, but like, I question sometimes like the point of releasing these things to the general public so quickly. Like, there's AI chatbots everywhere now. Everywhere. There's art AI everywhere. Everybody's uploading their face and their ideas, and they're just throwing more and more information at these things. And I'm like, why? Like, why are we doing this? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, when we start, I mean, I don't know if you saw War Games, you know, Mr. Falcon, but imagine when we get to the point where these Chat GPT or these AIs got their hands on some serious, like nuclear weapons.
Yeah. That's the thing where the governments decide to start putting, because it doesn't have to be us. It could be whoever decides to put their
Yep.
arms in the hands of their AI for more accuracy or whatever reason they want to use, and then boom, that's it.
Yeah, there's got
That's
to be
it.
some safety protocols there, but
So it's kind of scary, you know, and
mm-hmm.
it's happening very fast. Like we went from tape decks to CDs. I felt like that took a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then CDs kind of came and went kind of pretty quick if you think about it.
Yep.
It was in like a 10-12 year span where CDs were like, I don't know when I said 10-12 years. It's probably a little longer than that, but CDs went out pretty quick, relatively speaking, as you know, like compared to like tapes and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're like, it went from that, then it went to like digital, and now it's in the cloud, so you don't even need digital files anymore. Like you used to have your MP3s on that little MP3 player
Yeah.
shit. You don't even need that anymore. Now it's all in the cloud. You don't need to have shit on your phone. So it's like, right now things are progressing very, very quickly technology wise, and it's like, I don't know. On one hand, like I kind of worry about it, and I think about it because I kind of keep my toes in the water on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at like a lot of my friends and all that, and they don't even know what's going on. They're just living their lives. Nobody cares about anything, and they seem happier. So it's like I don't know, you know, where I stand on that, but
yeah, there's something to be said about like realm of control versus realm of concern. I mean, there's not a like you and I aren't getting ready to bust into Skynet and shut it down.
right.
I don't
ain't
know, at
running
least not
nowhere.
today. Maybe next week. But look at like how technology has affected businesses in the past. Like Blockbuster Video was so huge, and then when they went to DVDs, they still were pushing the DVDs, and then Netflix comes along, and then streaming. It's like killed Blockbuster. Just like, and then the same, you could say the same thing like the music. I remember going. One of the coolest things was going to the Planet Music to get a CD.
Yeah.
And maybe I'd like 3 songs on this whole CD. But I wouldn't care. Then Napster comes along, and now I'm like, oh, I get this. I want this song. I want this song. MP3, boom, boom, boom. And before you know it, it's like, it's killing all these businesses. And I think that's probably kind of the. Do you think that's just how it is? Like that's just nature, you know? Like when we don't ride around on horses on the regular anymore. But
right. Yeah, it's more. I feel like that's just human nature. As we advance further, we make things easier for ourselves. We find ways to, you know, create these things that make our lives easier. That's kind of like how it's always been. It's just that now it's happening so fast, bro. Like look at the shit that's happened in the span of our lifetime. Like for my mom grew up, and you know, she had black and white TV and
3 channels.
you know, then it got tape. They came out with records and then tapes and all that stuff. And now she's over here on her iPad, like, you know, with her touchscreen iPad every day looking at TikTok videos. And it's like, I wonder how her mind kind of like processes all these things. My mom's in her 70s, bro. And she's like lived through all these things. And it's like, I'm noticing now that I'm at the ripe old age that I am, how quickly things are progressing like now. You know what I mean? So, it's a little bit scary, but at the same time, it's like you again, I know we said before the show started, like things would go off the rails kind of, but you know, when I was younger, I felt, you know, when I was a kid and I was going to like elementary school and stuff, I always thought that, like, I was like, man, I live in America and it's the greatest. And we did the, you know, the morning thing with the flag, and you thought that you were going to grow up to be like something, you know, and your country has your back. And then that's how I felt when I was younger. Like you feel like you're working towards something, you're going to be something in your country, and maybe I'll have a business, maybe I'll do the, you know, you have all these hopes and dreams when you're a kid. And then you start getting older and you like start paying attention to more and more shit. And you're like, oh, well, this is kind of like shitty out here. Like it's all about money and political power. And these guys just want their power and their money. And it doesn't really fucking matter what you do. They don't really seem to give a shit about the general public. Because if they did, we'd all have healthcare. We'd all have dental. We'd all have fucking free psychological care. We'd all be making a living fucking working wage. some of us wouldn't be making $2 an hour at a goddamn restaurant when we're trying to live off of tips when rent's $3,000. You know what I mean? So,
but Lou, they care about you.
Yeah,
they care about you.
That's the thing. It's like you know, I felt it kind of like broke my heart when I got to a certain age and I realized how things were. So to make it simpler, I've always had a love for radio. I've loved radio always. Music, I'm not really musically inclined. I have a bass. I never play my bass. It just sits there and collects dust. But I love it. It's fun. I love having it there.
Yeah.
I was more focused on, I used to have like a tape player and I'd record myself and my cousins and we'd have like, I wish I still had those tapes because we had like the first podcast ever. I always tell them like, we invented podcasting. You know that, right?
Yeah.
If only we could find one of those tapes, we could prove it.
Yes.
But I always had that love for like radio, and my mom would tell me like my voice, and you have a great radio voice, and blah 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 blah. So I thought I was gonna go to school for that. And then when I started getting into like my early teens, well not early teens, like my 19, 20, 21, Clear Channel came out, and they started fucking buying everything. So for a lot of people who don't know, Clear Channel is like, it's called Clear Channel 1. They own just about every fucking radio station.
Yep.
And when I was a kid, radio was, you could turn on a station and hear the Aerosmith or Michael Jackson or Lionel Richie or Cyndi Lauper on the same station.
Yep.
Now you got, that's the classic station, that's the power station, that's the hip hop station, that's the and they give you like blocks of songs that they make you play for money and whatever. It all comes down to money in the end.
Yep.
And they took the soul basically out of radio because you had these great guys like Wolfman Jack, and you had
the Wolfman,
Greaseman, and these personalities who used to be on the radio that you could listen to, and they actually were like different. It wasn't just like, hey, all right, we're coming up next, we're gonna have this song and that song, and at the 7 o'clock hour we're gonna be giving away tickets to Alice in Chains. So stick it, like, you listen to it now and it becomes, it's just the same. Any station you go to, it's like all the same. That's even like when you travel from town to town, it's like everything looks the same. It's like there's a Target, there's a Starbucks, there's a Walmart, there's a Taco Bell, there's a McDonald's, and it's like everything is like
even the housing communities. Same. Yeah, even the housing communities are cookie cutter now. Whenever a new housing community, I remember seeing a new housing community just nearby go up, and then we went to Chicago and we saw a new house, and it was the same design, same cookie cutter format.
It's so, I mean, I tend to lose my train of thought when I go on these tangents, so I'll apologize ahead of time. But as far as podcasting goes, that's why I love having a podcast, because I could, unfortunately, I can't play music and stuff like that because I'll, eventually you'll get caught. You could get away with that shit a little bit because I've done it. But eventually, if you get too many views or whatever, they will strike your ass. Yeah. But as far as saying whatever I want, I don't have a boss. I don't have a company saying, hey, no, I say whatever the fuck I want to say. And this is the problem that I'm having with my show now, is because you were saying earlier, consistency is the key. I haven't been able to keep my consistency because I'm at a crossroads with my show where it's like, I feel like as I'm getting older, I have more responsibility to kind of talk about things that are actually important instead of reviewing the latest TV show or the latest, Marvel movie or whatever. Those things are fine, but the problem that I had was like when I'm trying to put an episode together. So like, let's say like last week, I went to go see Evil Dead Rise. Fucking phenomenal movie. I went to go see Evil Dead Rise, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna do a little, I don't call them review, I call them impressions, because it's just how I felt about the movie.
Yeah.
I don't tell people like that movie sucked. Yeah. Like I don't do that.
2
I just
stars.
Go, look, this is what I thought. If you like this kind of stuff, you should go check it out. Yeah. So I was like, I saw Evil Dead, I saw Dungeons and Dragons, which is also awesome. And I was like, cool, I'll do 2 little things of that and this and that. And then I'm like scrolling through my phone looking for news and stuff to put together with that. And it's like, oh, mass shooting. Oh, fire. Oh, child murder. Oh, raping and pillaging. Oh, Donald Trump's fucking doing this. Oh, Joe Biden's doing that. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
Yeah.
the world's burning. Like the world's literally burning. And
Yeah.
like I have this like I feel so weird about it that I can't like just talk about my bullshit when all these things are going on. But then at the same time, I'm like, do people want to hear me talk about that shit? Like they probably don't want to hear that shit either. They probably want to escape.
I think people want truth, though. And this kind of goes back to what we're saying about genuine. Is you got to go with your heart. But see, you're hitting the nail on the head. See, you're excited about reviewing two movies that you enjoyed, and I feel like you should go for it. Just talk about it,
Right.
but and ignore all that other stuff. Ignore, and the worst thing that I think all of us suffer as creators is imposter syndrome. Who wants to hear from me? Who am I? Well, here's the thing: is you think of the people that are at the top. If they gave into those same thoughts, they wouldn't be where they're at. You got to go with the heart, and I think especially now more than ever with the way things are being revealed about the mainstream media. I think, and I want to talk to you about radio too, about Clear Channel. I feel like there's a craving for authenticity and speaking from the heart. And if you speak from the heart, you're going to get a following. Are you going to be the next Joe Rogan? Maybe, probably not. But if you're enjoying what you're doing, I think that's what's important. That's how I feel. That's why, because I have to tell myself that here. Because every time I go to do another episode of Mental Health Mondays, I also do an educators podcast. I get that, and I'm like, why am I? Who's going to want to listen to me? And maybe I'll get 2-3 views, but I'm like, screw it, I'm doing it because it's what I'm excited about. And I feel like the other side too is we can get mired in that negativity of the mainstream of news and everything, because a lot of that is for clicks. A little side, I do want to ask you your thoughts on What Culture Wrestling, because I feel like they've kind of made a shift lately after their new manager took over, and they seem to be much more focused on clickbait. But that's what gets the attention. It's like the kid in the classroom that throws a tantrum because they know that's going to get attention. If you tweet something that says, "Hey, I am having a good day," the people that matter are going to respond.
Right.
But there's no controversy. But if you say, "Man, so and so sucks balls," the next thing you know, you're going to get all this.
You have so
drama.
many interactions on negative. Ugh. It's almost depressing. Like, so I'm not trying to plug or anything because you mentioned it earlier. I have a podcast. Well, I don't have a podcast. I do a podcast with my friend Nick.
Yes.
This podcast was already established before I got on the show. It was Random
Wrestling
Rob.
is trash. I'll put the description down here.
Thank you so much. It was created, and then I was asked to jump on the show with some other guys, and then the crew shifts, every few years or whatever. Right now, it's me and Nick, and me and him have a great time doing the show. We just get on and we talk about the stuff we like and we don't like, and we talk about news and what we think about this, and we kind of try to like fantasy book stuff, and like we did our own AEW draft with Collision and Dynamite,
cool.
and who's gonna go to Dynamite, who's gonna go to Collision, and we do stuff like that. And it's like we'll text each other after the shows when we see our views going up and we're like all excited and giddy and shit, but never once have we had a conversation where we're like, yo, should we do like okay, so no shots to anyone, because we have a wide circle. We the two of us run in this circle of of wrestling podcasters, and I love them all. They all do their own things, and they all have their own styles. But I've noticed some people, like, they'll tweet, "Oh, you won't believe what we said tonight on our show," and it's like, I understand why people do that, because they're trying to get those clicks, they're trying to get those reactions, and they're trying to build something in their own way, and that's fine. But for me and Nick, we're like, we never want to do that. Like, I'm not gonna sit here, and you're not gonna hear me tweeting, fighting with, like, I don't know, Sean Ross Sapp in a string of tweets about. It's like, dude, like I've said this before on like other shows, but like, you should see my drafts on my tweet drafts, because there's been so many times where I'll like start typing some shit and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And I'll just back out of it. And I'll just back out of it because it's like, what am I doing? Why am I fighting with some random person? Like, it's like, this is stupid. So like, we're kind of proud that we have a show where we just talk about like wrestling and psychology of it. And, you know, we're more about like booking and storylines and how things are progressing and how they used to be and stuff like that. And we kind of go back and forth with that. So the guys who like the JD from NYs and the
Ringside News,
what's that dude that everybody hates? I don't even want to say it's Gareth, whatever his name is. I have all them motherfuckers blocked. I blocked everybody. I blocked all the dirt sheets. I have Alvarez blocked. I have Meltzer blocked. I have Sean Ross blocked. I have who's the other big Ringside is blocked.
Yeah, Ringside.
All those guys are blocked. Everybody's blocked. And I did that because I wanted to clean up my timeline. Because the thing is, you know, people who don't know how Twitter works, if you keep clicking on certain things, that's what it's going to show you.
Yeah.
So if you keep running in those negative circles, it's going to keep showing you more and more of that shit. And I was like, I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't care about your opinion on a rumor. Oh, I heard from a source that Kenny. No, bro, you didn't hear shit. You're on Twitter and you read something and now you're repeating it. You didn't hear this from anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, it's ridiculous, dude. So
has your Twitter feed gotten more positive after the cleaning?
It definitely has. And I have actually Top Rope Squishy to thank for that. She's one of the more I always like to shout her out because she's like one of the most positive people in the wrestling community.
I had my Top Rope Squishy mug.
Yeah, my shirt. I just was putting my stuff away.
I just put it in the dishwasher, but
I got my shirt
Top
right
Rope
here.
Squishy.
I was gonna wear it, but I stuck with the Willow Nightingale shirt.
I love the Willow.
She's one of the most positive people on this app. And it's very important to recognize that because there's a lot of negative people in the internet wrestling community and it sucks.
Yeah.
That article I was talking about, that's what it was about.
Yeah.
It was basically about tribalism and the wrestling community.
Oh, you see tribalism, not just in wrestling, but in general, like left versus right or this group versus that group. And I do think that that tribalism is something that's probably innate in humans because it probably goes back to our caveman days where, you know, we want this tribe to be bigger than that tribe and we got fire. But it's ridiculous because there's so many people that they'd rather win than be right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you see that not just in WWE versus AEW, but like in general in society?
Yeah, that goes back to me talking about my draft tweets because it's like you can be in an argument with someone and you could be giving them like I had somebody. I don't have Facebook anymore. I deleted Facebook in 2019, never going back. And I had a friend of mine who, like, she was very right, like right wing, and everything was just right wing, just everything right wing.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay. It got to the point where she started posting like misinformation, literally. Like she would post shit that was like wrong, factually incorrect. And I'd go, and I wouldn't even be malicious. I'd be like, dude, that's not actually true. And then she goes, yes, it is. LOL, da 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 da. And she'd post GIFs and reactionary things. And I go, no, look, I'm copying and pasting this from us.gov. Look, this is incorrect what you're writing. Oh, she would just continue to post GIFs and like GIFs of like Donald Trump flying an eagle and shit and shooting machine guns. And it's like, I'm wasting my time. Like, I'm not even, it's not like I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm not saying I know more than you. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not even saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is that thing you posted is completely 100% false. And you're posting it to all your friends and you guys are all laughing and giggling about it. Like it's real and it's not. And you don't seem to care. So then it becomes like, oh, well, then why do I care to tell you the truth?
Exactly. You know why waste your time?
Yeah.
It's like, and you get those are folks, I think, that they've already invested their emotions into their identity into a belief. That's why it's like, so many of the issues of today are so nuanced that there's no easy answer, but it's like Chris Rock said in one of his stand-ups a long time ago, and this really stuck with me. He said, Anybody that makes up their mind before they hear the issue is an idiot. And what he's referring to is like if you say I'm a Democrat, well then they give you this list of things that you have to believe. Or I'm a Republican, and they give you this list of things. And this is why they don't want a third party, is this is a way to pit us against each other,
right,
so that we don't pay attention to what's really going on. And what's really amazing is with technology, with a lot of independent media now, is that I think a lot of the truth is really getting out there, and we're starting to go, wait a minute, we've been fighting each other while these guys have been just getting rich, raking in all the money.
Right. It's funny because it's like, I've always wondered about my political affiliation too, because it's like people ask me like, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And I go, are those the only choices I have? Like, cause like, I mean, I own 6 firearms.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you should have the right to bear arms, but like, for instance, in Florida, our wonderful governor just passed a law that's going to go into effect in January, where you will no longer need a concealed carry permit to carry a firearm. They're taking that away. You don't need it. So now you could just, if you can get a gun, you can carry it wherever you want. You don't have to take any, and I don't believe in that shit. I had to take a fucking course. I had to take the test. I had to go through the process and get my concealed permit, and I had to re-up it every 5 years. I want to do that. Like, I think that's important to do.
Absolutely.
Like, I believe in that shit. Why are we taking that away? Like, I believe everyone should have healthcare. I believe it's a woman's right to choose, but not at 9 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's like different, and that's just my opinion. I'm not here to preach to anybody, but like at 9 months, Jesus Christ, like, come on, man, that's crazy. So it's none of those things are all in one of those groups. It's like some from here and some from there. So it's like, I don't know what political belief I am. I could put independent, but then my vote doesn't fucking count.
You see, why should we have to declare? Because I'm the same way. There's things that I not only that, there's things I lean left and there's things I lean right, but then that also it begs the question: can't I change my mind if there's new information? My 15-year-old self was against gay marriage, because in my mind it was man and woman. I mean, this is how it is. Like, I was a dumbass until I got out into the world and experienced life, and I'm like, oh, and then all of a sudden, like, I started changing my mind. And I think that's one of the problems, especially when people go back like 10, 15 years and dig up something on somebody, like, look, 15 years ago you did this. I'm like, yeah, you were a dumbass. But I think that it's a mistake, because there's so many issues that are nuanced. Yeah, the Parkland shooting in Florida. And if you remember that, where the guy shot up the Parkland, was it Marjorie Stone Douglas High School,
right?
And it immediately turned into guns versus mental health, and nobody wanted to really talk about the whole nuanced situation. And I think a lot of times, especially even recently with the transgender person that shot up the school that killed the 6 elementary kids, we can talk about both. We don't have to be one side or the other. It's not a versus thing, because we can talk about gun control. And some of the misconceptions is there are gun control regulations out there. Are they all getting enforced?
Dude,
not all the time.
I thankfully, I have no criminal record. I've never been arrested or any of that crazy shit. So I could literally go to a fucking gun show with my concealed carry permit, and I can buy an AK-47 with a 50-round clip and take that bitch home the same day. Like, come on, man. There's gotta be some more regulation there for that. Like, I understand everybody, no, America, I want to be able to fucking buy guns and do whatever the fuck. Dude, I have 5 of them, and I've bought them over time. And at first I got them because the first one was like a handgun. I just wanted a handgun because I wanted it to protect myself and shit. And then with my ex-wife, I got her something that was lighter, and we would go shooting and stuff like that. And now I just have a couple things that I wanted to get because I just feel personally like I wanted to have them. And they're there and they're locked up and they're, I take them to the range and it's cool. But like these guys who have like 30, 40, like what the fuck? Were you going to war, motherfucker? Like what the fuck?
Some of them think they are though. And I think some of that comes from kind of the way that media is pitting us against each other, and the government's they're all involved. If they want us hating each other and taking these sides instead of really having those discussions.
Right.
Are you familiar with Daryl Davis? He was a jazz musician and he toured with James Brown and a bunch of other folks. And he would this is like in the 70s and 80s. He would tour. He would drive to from Florida, Georgia to New York. And a lot of times he'd travel with other band members, and there'd be different band members. And he traveled with this one white guy, and in the course of the driving, the conversation turns out this guy was a member of the KKK. And Daryl Davis is black, a black musician. But what Daryl Davis did is instead of getting hostile, he talked to him and said, well, tell me why do you feel this way? Well, we're the superior race, and the stereotype was real.
Yeah, the rhetoric came out first.
Exactly. But as they, this is like a 12, 14-hour drive. As they were driving and the discussion's going, this guy started to see Daryl Davis as a human, and they started having this discussion. And then Daryl Davis started poking, not maliciously, not like gotcha, but started showing more of some of the logical inconsistencies in this guy's thought process. And they go to do the show, and by the time they got back to Georgia, the other guy, he renounced the KKK and turned in his hood.
Wow.
And to this day, Daryl Davis has now collected over 200 KKK hoods just by talking to people.
Wow.
You can look him up, Daryl Davis. Look him up online. It's amazing because what really took away from that is how communication is so important, and being able to listen to the other person instead of it being that like with your friend, you were just trying to point out hey, I'm not sure that's accurate, and she's just bombarding you with Trump memes because she's trained to expect that you're coming at her. To somebody that's far right, everybody is left. Everybody else is left. To somebody that's far left, everybody is right. So they're expecting you to fight, and all you were doing is trying to have a conversation. And we really got to get to a point where we have conversations rather than,
That's a big thing with me. Like I used to, when I was younger, I had a very bad temper, and I came from a place of ignorance. My mom forced us to raised us Pentecostal. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if anyone's familiar with the Pentecostal religion, it's fucking fire and brimstone, motherfucker. Like, you are going to burn in hell. If you listen to Aerosmith, you're going to hell. If you listen to Michael Jackson, you're going to hell. If you watch a Disney movie, you're going to hell. Yeah. Like, you tell that shit to an 8-year-old kid enough times, man, you're going to traumatize them. Yeah. And that's where I came from. I came from that. We used to go to church at 8 a.m, and we'd leave at 3 p.m. every Sunday. Okay? It was like a full-time goddamn shift of church. I had bunch of classes, and then a break for breakfast, and then you come back, and this guy's preaching at you for fucking hours and hours and hours. And it was like, homosexuality's wrong, everything's wrong. The only right way is to renounce everything, and it's God, 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 which...
Eat your vegetables.
I get a headache thinking about those days. But so I grew up, not hating gay people or anything, but I was very conflicted about but I've been told for the last 10 years that they're evil, that they're going to hell. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to burn eternally. Like, motherfucker, I don't want to burn to hell. So you guys stay away from me. And then it's like, as I got older, all these things that were burned into my brain, I've broken through them, and I've seen through and educated myself to No, people are people, man. And
Yeah.
you don't judge a whole group of people, gay people, Asian people, Latin people. You don't gauge, you don't judge people as a group. Everyone's an individual. Everyone acts differently. There's good cops and there's bad cops. There's this it's a wide spectrum of things. And as I've gotten older, um one thing I'm proud of myself is that I've kind of educated myself to a point where like I've gotten away from all that, from like hatred and ignorance, where you just judge people primarily by like how the initial reaction. Like, it's like, no, dude, humans are very complicated, and you never know. You can look at me how I was raised. I'm not saying I was raised bad, but mentally that screws you up. And you don't know, people have gone through horrible shit, man. I've heard horror stories from people over the years, from like how they were raised and abuse, and just, so everyone goes through different shit. So you can't just like judge people how you think. It's so that story is actually really cool, man. I'm gonna actually look that up, because that's actually inspiring. But yeah, I can see this is one of those points where I lost my train of thought, and I was trying to get back to my point, and it's lost. It's gone.
Well, that's right. I want to ask you though, because you brought up religion, and I think sometimes like religion in general, whether it's Christianity and all the different sects or of Christianity, but there's good and bad to it. But of course, what it seems to be, what everybody fights over is the dogma, but the general message is there. Do you feel like it's a natural thing? Like, why do you think humans are drawn to different religions, or even atheism, as which kind of becomes its own religion?
So I have an older brother. He's an atheist. He's completely technical. He's an engineer, super intelligent, and he's an atheist. He says that, but I don't totally believe that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I was told there's a one God, and it's this, and he looks like this, and it's about this. And then again, as I get older, I when I was in my early teens, like 16, 17, 18, I was crazy. I thought I was a Buddhist for a while, and then I was like doing all these drugs and just like opening my mind, man. And
Yeah,
like
man.
trying to go all these different places. And then it was like aliens and conspiracies and all that shit in like my early 20s. And now I'm just kind of like, I know that there's something out there. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I know that there's more. There has to be more, because we can't just be here chasing money and working till we're 65 and then living another maybe 10 years of retired bliss and then withering and dying. Like, there's got to be fucking more than that, dude.
Yeah.
There just has to be. And it ain't being famous and going to Hollywood or any of that shit, because that shit's never moved me. I've never wanted any part of that. Like that, the things I know now about how Hollywood works and the shit that goes on and all that, rituals or whatever the fuck these people are doing. Like, hey, listen, man.
You don't want to pray to the owl god and build a bird?
Bro. You're not gonna have me on some island. Nah, bro. We're not doing none of that. We're not doing none of that. So again, I feel like there's something out there. I don't know what the something is, whether it's an alien or it's something that looks like us, or something that we can't even comprehend. Maybe it's Unicron. I don't fucking know. But there's something out there.
Only if I get to be Starscream.
Yeah, and it's just the religion thing. I just think people are drawn to it because you have an innate thing in your body that tells you that there's more. And a lot of you have no comprehension of what it is. Like, there's stuff in if you stop and you just look up at the sky and you try to think about all the shit that's going on out there in the atmosphere, through space, through these planets. I saw a video, I keep saying yesterday, but I'm on my phone a lot, so I see a lot of shit.
Yeah.
I saw a video yesterday of a star eating a planet, and it was the first video that they had from the Hubble of a star eating a planet. And they were like, oh, we thought that this process took a long time. And it really doesn't. It was really fucking fast. And it's like, this is what's eventually going to happen to the Earth when the sun goes out, which is in like 150,000 years, but still. And it's just like, dude, I'm sitting here on my phone watching a star eat a planet.
Yeah.
Like for real. And I'm like watching it on my phone, and I'm just looking at it, and I looked up, and it's like the ridiculousness of what I'm doing right now is like, I'm not even really thinking about like what I'm watching. It's just like, oh yeah, cool. And then just swipe up, and then it's like another fight video, and now I'm watching a fight video. And it's just like there's something out there, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know what it is. I don't preach to anyone about what they feel. You know, if it makes you happy and it doesn't hurt anyone else in the process, that's your religion. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? But that's my thoughts on religion, dude. It's not about having to go somewhere and give money and listen to this person interpret this book for you. No, do that on your own and have your own feelings towards it. It's there. The material's there. All you got to do is read it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's how I feel. It's funny because when I got married, I had to convert to Catholic because that's what she wanted.
Oh, wow. Pentecostal to Catholic? Woo!
Yeah. So I went from Pentecostal to just Christian, and then I got away from everything for a while, and I went through all that wild shit with my youth. Mm-hmm. And then when I got married, I wanted to do that for my wife because she was Catholic, and I was like, you know what, we'll do that and we'll get married in the church and whatever. And it's funny because Catholicism is one of those religions that you constantly hear terrible things about, terrible, horrible, horrific things. And I got to tell you, maybe it was the church I went to, but I was very much at peace there. And I found great messages there from the Father Jim. And I'm not a very like religious person, but I was like, I really like this. Like this message that he's giving is about love and acceptance. And, it wasn't, I had one weird situation there, but, and I'll tell you if you want. But sure. Other than that, everything was great. Like the message there and everything was cool. I didn't see any weirdness. I didn't feel any weirdness. It was just, I liked it.
Did they ask you, hey, Louis, you ever thought about being an altar boy?
It wasn't that weird, but so after like me going there 3 or 4 times, and we started getting familiar with people, and we told the father our plans were to get married in the church and blah, 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 blah. He was saying, oh, we have different outlets here and we have different programs that we do that you could probably participate in. So one night, this dude came up to me very like, it was funny because he was very super Italian, like hair slicked back. He had a gray suit with the tie, and he had the rings. He's very fucking Hey, what you doing, Louis? Hey, all right, big Louis, come here,
Louis
big
Walnuts.
Louis. So he's like, okay, he's like, so my name is, I forget his name. Let's call him Lance.
Okay.
He's like, my name is Lance, and whatever, and I run the Knights of the, what the fuck was it that he called it? The Knights of the, it's something. The Knights of the something that that's part of the church. And he had a little lapel pin with a knight and an eagle on it. And I was like, oh man, okay. I was like, cool. That sounds cool. Like he's an older guy, and he's a bunch of other guys. He's like, yeah, we're like a leader group, and we get together and we hang out. We'll have like functions and we'll have dinners, and the guys will get together. We'll watch the game. And well, I'm like, cool. That sounds cool. Like that's something I'd be interested in or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's telling me stuff, and he's like, yeah, we do other stuff too. It's a little more serious. We'll organize dinners for the homeless. We'll go and we'll collect, we'll collect clothes and stuff like that for the shelters and stuff like that. And then, we'll also go to the abortion clinics and protest out there. He just slipped that shit into the conversation, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, what? What? Can you go back for a second? Can you go back? He's like, yeah. Usually we'll go out to those places. We'll go out there and we'll be there for an hour or two, and we'll just kind of like, we have our signs and we'll just protest. And it's like, all right, cool. I said, all right, so listen, I'm gonna go, but you have a great night, and let me think about this whole Knights of the fucking whatever the fuck this shit's called. I was just like, dude, can you imagine these grown-ass men standing in front of an abortion clinic trying to protest these poor fucking girls who have like no other recourse but to go to these fucking horrific places to try to get help because no one will help them. Well, fuck off.
What always threw me off about, and this goes for any religion, actually any belief, because you see it even with folks like that lean left. You see, anytime you can't convince somebody to see your point of view if you're yelling at them. You know, if you're, because I think it's not serving any purpose other than making yourself be holier than thou. Yeah, I used to see used to see a kid would be on the street corner with their parents going, "You're going to burn in hell if you go into that club. You're going to do this." And I'm like, I can't remember thinking as a kid myself, like, that's not making me feel like going, you know what? I was going to go in and party, but this little guy right here told me I'm going to burn it. You know what? I'm good, guys. I'm going to go, back home and watch, watch It's a Wonderful Life or something. I don't feel like that's convincing in any way. Do you feel that though too? Like, I did want to talk to you a little bit about, because you and I are both, rest in peace, Patrice O'Neill, but you and I are both card carrying members of the cult of Black Phillip. I think
Phillip,
so,
baby.
Yes, and in Black Phillip, of course, it's a play on Dr. Phil. But I always wonder if Patrice O'Neill was still alive, the things he'd be saying right now about society.
He would probably have the biggest podcast like ever. Yeah. Like, I mean, probably Joe Rogan would still have one up on him, but he'd probably be like one of those like top 3-4 people, because his mind was, the way his mind worked was incredible. And yeah, I know he did talk a lot of shit. I'm not going to sit here and say he's some kind of scholar and he should be deitized or anything like that. He did talk a lot of shit at sometimes. He was a very nutty guy.
Yeah.
But his mind was so quick, and the way he, not only relationships and stuff like that, but just and when I mean relationships, I mean like between people, not just, man, woman, man, whatever, romantic. It's just like the way people interact and the way that people, I think he would have had a fantastic podcast just breaking down conversations in between people. Like, I think he would have been a great, like, if he would have had like a Klan member and just a Black Panther member, and he was in the middle and he was the orator, and he would just be able to go back and forth with, I think that would have been a phenomenal podcast. I get into shit all the time about my Twitter bio. And the reason my Twitter bio is what it is because, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I want to explain it here, because I try to explain it for people to understand it. It's not, so that my Twitter bio says, it's a Patrice O'Neill quote. And the quote is, "I generally don't like living in a world where being what a man is a horrible thing, and no matter what a woman is, it's a wonderful thing."
Yeah, I'm going to highlight it right here.
So the reason why I have that there is because, like, women, like, I'll interact with people on Twitter and then they'll go to my bio, because it's happened before, and then they'll see that and they'll be like, "Yo, you're a fucking asshole." And it's like, but you're not even really understanding the context of that quote. Yeah. Like, it's not about women are bad or men are bad or men are good, or that's not what that quote's about. It's just about accountability. I can never say that word right. It's about accountability for everyone. So, like I was saying before, there's good men, there's bad men, there's good women, there's bad women, there's good cops, there's bad cops. There's good and evil everywhere. Okay. Yeah. And you want to judge people as individuals, not as groups. And that's like really the point of that quote. Because it's like that, I think that quote is amazing. Like, that should be in a museum somewhere, like on a plaque, because it's a good conversation starter. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not to single any one person out. It's just kind of like he didn't want to be. It's very layered. He was a very interesting guy, man, to see. Yeah. Just, what an interesting dude, man. He just again, his mind was incredible, and the way he passed away was terrible, because He ended up having that stroke and he couldn't really talk at the end.
Yeah.
So imagine somebody with all those thoughts and the way his mind worked not be able to fucking talk anymore. It was terrible.
Why
But
do
yeah,
why do you think the people that saw that quote took it the wrong way? Why do you think they took it that way?
I can see how they can't take it the wrong way, because if they don't stop and actually think about how the quote is, because basically a lot of times when like a woman sees that, they think that it's like it's blaming women, like it's a blame women thing when they read that quote, because it's literally saying, um generally I don't want to be in a world where being what a man is horrible, and no matter what a woman is, it's wonderful. Like, so I want to make sure I say this the right way, because I don't want to
Well,
poo-poo on my own
like
shit.
only wonderful. Like it's almost, it's like assuming that being a man is always terrible and being a
It's
woman is
always
always
terrible.
wonderful.
It always comes from a
Yeah.
fucking horrible caveman mentality place, and then anything that a woman does is like wonderful. Like there was a episode of because he used to frequent the Opie and Anthony show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have my problems with certain members of that show, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So there was an episode of the show where they were playing audio from a woman she was a teacher, and she had sexual relations with one of her students. The student was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And she was like one of the teachers, and she got pregnant. And she was on like Dateline or something, talking to like Diane Sawyer or some shit, explaining her case. Like, they're like, so what happened here that you like? And the girl's like, I don't know. He was just, he was really nice, and he was very charming, and I didn't believe that he was. I thought he was at least 17, and he was just really nice to me, and everything was nice, and I don't know. He just and I'm listening to this fucking woman, and I'm like, she's over here explaining how she had sex with a minor, and they're giving her this TV time, and then Patrice, they play a little bit of audio, and Patrice he comes on, and he goes, now can any man be on TV talking about how he just was just having a wonderful relationship with a 13-year-old girl, and everybody was like, no, of course not. And then like, that's the double standard. Like, that's where it's like, there has to be accountability for everybody, dude. Women do fucked up shit, men do fucked up shit. It's not, that's where that's where the brilliance in that quote is. Like, for me, it's just like,
where do you think we get this notion of toxic masculinity came from?
A lot of it has to do with clicks. It really does. Some of these kids, I don't believe they believe a fucking word of any of the shit that they're saying. They're literally just on here because so people like Sneeko and like these Fresh and Fit, they cater to like that type of audience where it's just like the Andrew Tates.
Yeah.
They're alpha male. Women need to shut the fuck up and cook,
make me a sandwich, kind
egg
of
babies,
thing. Yeah.
and and it's those people, and it's not just, they get the attention, they get the clicks, whether it's good or bad clicks. They're clicks. That's the thing. They don't care about getting people who hate them clicking on it. They just want people to click on it. Once you get to those millions and millions of clicks, that's where you start making money. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. Now, do some of these guys believe that shit? For me, it's hard, because it's like, how can you have that? Like, how can you be so? How can you treat a person like that, like an object? Like that shit. That shit doesn't register with me. Like, I don't understand that part. Like, a lot of these guys just like, they want an object. It seems like that, listening to their shows, and they want to be able to tell women what to do and where to go and blah 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 blah. And I can't fuck with that shit. Like, I can't. I've never subscribed to that, and I just think that a lot of that's something that like younger people who haven't fully developed yet kind of fall into those kind of traps. And I think a lot, since obviously with TikTok and all that things, much younger people are the ones using these things, and they're the ones driving those clicks and making those people more popular. So that's why you're seeing more of that shit. Because he's like, oh, he's gonna talk about. It's just like the wrestling thing. You got your guys who, you know, yelling and screaming about booking and this and that, and then another person sees that and they're like, well, he's getting all those clicks, I kind of agree with that shit, I'm gonna do the same thing, and now they're blowing up.
That's or just, your girl contagious. With the Trump memes, you know.
Yeah,
she's getting a credit. Do you think that, like, because do you feel like sometimes it's the extremes that get the attention? Like in some cases it's like Andrew Tate is like, could be like a reaction, like an extreme reaction to men feeling threatened, but instead of having that nuanced conversation, it's like a young impressionable men feel like that attracts to that mentality, gives them some kind of like identity or strength, a false sense of that.
Right. Yeah, that, like I said, like at least that's how I feel about it. It's like the social media has a lot to do with it, because it just, you, again, these apps point you in a direction. If you open up a brand new Twitter account on a brand new track phone, it's when you go to click on it, nothing's on your screen, nothing. And then you start searching for shit, and then it starts showing you, oh, you like this? Well, here's another guy like that, and here's another woman like this, and here's more stuff like this. And then you're just like in the circle of that. You're like in the circle. If it's hate, you're in a circle of hate. Like, I can't imagine a phone of a like a white supremacist. I don't even want to imagine what that would look like, because it's just they just show you, they inundate you with like those images and that rhetoric all day long. It's like you stay in that.
It's the digital version of you are what you eat. You know, you are what you consume, and yeah, it's dangerous because you kind of create your own echo chamber, and you I mean, it's good when, like, if it's knitting or puppies or something like that, but like if you're looking for hate, you're going to find it. And it feels like that there's no, people are fine. Like when you it goes back to that whole thing of when your identity is wrapped around a belief, when to change that belief is to change who you are. And I think that's why a lot of people, they get so like defensive when you present new evidence, you know, of something. And I really hope we get to a point where we can be a lot more nuanced and get that going. And you know, it's that tribalism. Do you feel like, though, that like it's usually the extremes that get the attention?
Yeah, I feel it's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
Yeah.
So again, and just like, as far as because I see a lot of like wrestling people putting out, again, I'm gonna go back to wrestling because it's what I see the most.
Wait, let me get the
I see a lot of them putting out content, and it's like, yeah, exactly. They put out content and it's like good content, but they get like no clicks. And then you see like these other people like basically almost putting out the same information, but just like in a fiery, like one-sided way, and their views are crazy because it's like that's what gets the most engagement. You know what I mean? So
it gets the clicks.
It's like whatever. That's why I don't understand. It's like whether these people actually believe that shit, or if they're just playing a character and they're trying to push that character forward to get themselves wherever it is they're trying to go. It's like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to. They know what's going to get the attention, and it's almost like it's it's kind of like it's like you can go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac right now, but it's not going to really be nutritious. It's not, once you eat it, it's done. To me, that's that's the fast way to get clicks. But and I might be naive, but I feel like there's such an appetite for that genuine, honest take. It just doesn't happen overnight. It's eventually, you know, the people will be drawn to you. They'll come back and go, oh yeah, this, I remember this guy. I trust this guy. Because you break trust with somebody, you know, you're going to lose. You might get a bunch of clicks, but half the time, if not more, it's people hate. I mean, going back to radio, your buddy Howard Stern. You know, Howard Stern had as many listeners, if not more, of people hating on him because they wanted to. It was the classic line from his movie Private Parts. They say you know, how the percentage of people that hate him are listening because they want to hear what he's going to say next.
Yeah.
So they can complain about it. I want to just show you real quick. This was What Culture Wrestling. Now, this particular thumbnail, you got canceled. You got this. It's red, angry picture of Tony Khan, and there's all this like canceled, and you know the media. All you see right there, and you see canceled, major TV deal changes, and immediately it's like anybody that doesn't understand what's going on, you're thinking, oh, this crazy thing. But what it's all he's talking about is that they canceled Dark and Dark Elevation, which I
have so my cousin / brother, he was a WWE fan. We were WWE fans when we were kids, and then he stopped watching for many years. I continued to watch, and I like everything. I like AEW, New Japan, WWE, Impact, GCW. I watch a lot. I watch way more wrestling than I need to be watching. But he stopped, and then I think it might have been last year's. Was it last year's WrestleMania or maybe the WrestleMania before? He kind of he was like, he saw something that got his interest back up. And then last year when Stone Cold came back, he was like, oh, I'm back. I got to watch this. So whatever, he got back into wrestling, and I was trying to show him different things. I'm like, oh, well, you know, you're back, so you might want to check this out. He's like, what is this AEW? I don't want to watch that shit. I don't know what that is. So I'm like, well, it's wrestling. Like, you're watching wrestling. This is just more wrestling for you to watch. And I didn't understand, and I've grown to understand now how he feels. Like, I didn't understand at the point, like, why wouldn't you want to watch? And I asked him, and he's like, oh, because I don't know any of those people. And I go, you didn't know anybody in WWE 2 months ago?
Yeah.
And now you love Seth Rollins. Like, but Seth Rollins was in Ring of Honor, which I'm watching now. Like, so I didn't understand why he wanted to like not watch those, but now I've grown to understand. A lot of people who watch WWE, they watch it for different reasons. And I found that a lot of them don't watch it for wrestling.
Yeah.
They watch it for the storylines and the characters and all that other stuff. And that's fine. I have you watch it, you get what you get out of it, whatever it is that you want to get out of it. But it was funny because when he gets into something, it's like podcasts, I need soundtracks, I need the comic from this, I need that. So he gets into the shit.
The figures,
So I know that he was he was going down YouTube and he was seeing shit like that you just posted.
Yeah.
So when the scrum happened and Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara were fighting backstage or whatever happened, and all this chaos was going on. Well, quote unquote chaos.
Yeah.
Because that's how all those videos were posting all about that shit. Like it was chaos and the backstage is on fire and there's puppies are falling out of the sky. He hit me up one day because we talk on WhatsApp because he lives in Jersey and I'm in Florida. And he sends me this message and he's like, what's going on with your, like, he goes, what's going on with your wrestling show over there? Like, what's going on in that place? It's like, and I'm like, what clickbait video are you watching where you keep asking me about like chaos? Like, because I knew he's not watching the situation on his own. He's like getting these clickbait articles, which again, it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him or anything like that, but it's just like that's the intended purpose of those videos, man, to grab people's eyes and to give you their version of whatever it is that's going on and to get you to come back to watch the next one. And it's like, it's all clickbait, man.
It has mainstream media, and like specifically, you know, we could talk about the dirt sheets and whatnot, but in general, it's like mainstream media has gone the same way. At what point did mainstream media go from Walter Cronkite just regurgitating the news of the day to like CNN versus Fox News or this At what point did it evolve to? I mean, mainstream media seems like it's clickbait now.
Yeah, I think that with the advent of cable television, we got all that, because then you started having 24-hour news channels and 24-hour weather channels, and it's just like we constantly have to have news. And then when the money becomes involved, it's like, oh well, this right-wing rich guy wants to have his own news channel, and this left-wing rich guy wants to have his own news channel. So it's like it's the money, man. It's like as things progress, people figure out a way to wrestle control out of the hands of the people and to take it and use it in their own way to get what they want out of it, which is, I don't know, the eyes of the viewer, the attention, the distraction, whatever it is you want to call it. I just think because again, when I was growing up, it was like, yeah, exactly. You had Walter Cronkite, and you had you had these names of these people who you would watch the news and be like, oh my God, like you watch the news and feel like you're getting what's happening in the world. Now you watch the news and it's like, you don't know what the fuck is going on. It's just they're only giving you bits and pieces. You literally have to watch like Al Jazeera to get like actual news, because
I mess with that's why I like it, a lot of independent media, even though even there you have to be cognizant. Breaking Points has been pretty cool. What I like about them is it's two people. It's Crystal and Sagar, and she kind of leans left, he kind of leans right, but they're honest. And one of the things I like about them is they'll admit when they get something wrong, and they're and they don't have a problem holding like everybody accountable. Like she leans left, but she has no problem talking smack about anybody that's messing around.
That's
in
important.
Democrats, and same thing with Sagar. And I think that's important because it goes back to that honesty. So Lou, how in this crazy, we got Skynet is about to become self-aware. We've got everybody at each other's throats. We've got dogs and cats living together. How do you keep peace, mental peace? How do you keep peace of mind?
It's not easy, man, because as you've seen for the last hour or so, I tend to go all over the place mentally. Sometimes it's hard to focus on one idea, because then I'll just strand off into other things. So a little bit of quick history about me. I got married in my 30s. I got divorced in 2019. And I separated in 2019. Officially got divorced this year.
Congratulations! Woo!
Thank you so much. If I had one of those little popper things, I'd have popped confetti. But yeah, in I would say from 2018 to like still now was probably like the hardest part of my life, because I had like loss in the family, and right when I got separated, I was like I almost died. I was working overnights trying to get like away, because we separated, but we were imagínate tú, we were separated but still living in the same apartment. Because I had nowhere to go. And she was like, go but stay, but we weren't talking. It was all fucked up. And I stayed there for 6 months. And as soon as we separated and things went to shit, I went back to working overnight shift, which I used to do before. And because I was trying to stack as much money as I could so I could get the fuck out of there. And I gained like, in those 6 months, I must have gained like almost 60, 70 pounds. Just working overnight, not sleeping, being up all night, drinking Gatorades and
probably
eating fucking M&Ms. And it was terrible. And when I finally got up and left, I got a U-Haul, and I had like 8 garbage bags and some sneakers and some stuff, and threw it in a U-Haul, and I drove up here. Because my family was like, just come. They didn't know what was going on, because I tend to keep things internalized. And they were like, just come here, whatever. When I got here and I actually took a self-examination of myself, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I doing now? I was in very bad physically. Like my back was shot.
Yeah.
My legs were like swollen. My ankles were black. Like I took pictures of all of that. And I managed to, get a lot better and like kind of heal myself. I have before and after pictures and all that shit. But just mentally, I felt like a failure. Like I felt like I failed my marriage. I always said when I got married, I was never getting divorced. Divorce is out of the question. That's not going to happen to me. When I get married, it's going to be the one, and we're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. And I wish nothing but the best for her. I hope she finds her happiness and just not with me. And yeah, I just felt like a failure. Felt like I had to start over. And then you try to move forward, but when you have someone who is a narcissist and they're constantly still trying to reach out to you for things and trying to still pull you in, you kind of, like, for me, I felt like, damn, did I make the right decision? Should I have fought more? Should I have like done more? You know what I mean? Like, did I give up too easily? Did I? And then I have to stop and think about it, and I'd be like, dude, no.
Yeah.
You did everything you could possibly do, bro.
Yeah.
And it was never going to be enough. So it's like a 2-year process of me constantly like falling down into a thing and then getting myself back out of it and then falling back down into that thing and then getting myself back out. And that shit's not good. Like, it's not good for you. It's a constant, free falling. So for me, I would show her to you, but she's not in the room. My dog basically saved my life. My family, number one, they pulled me out of that wreck. My brother, my mom, they're my rocks and shit. They inspire me to like be better. But as stupid as it sounds, man, my dog is the best. Like, I know that people have. I'm not as far as having the emotional attachment vest, and I take her to like the supermarket. I don't do all that.
You don't put it in your bag.
I'm not doing all that, bro. That's a bit much. I have to take my emotional attachment dog with me on the plane. Well, if that works for you, great. But that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that dog, like the joy that I get when I come home from work and I see her and she's all excited, and then I gotta go do stuff for her and take her for her walk. And that's important, man. Getting out and getting air and getting out of your circle and staying active and drinking water and all those little things like help me to kind of stay focused. And meeting new people like yourself and being in a community of positive people, man. Yes. I can't stress that shit enough, man. Go through your Twitter feeds and block all these negative people. Believe me, you're not gonna miss any breaking news. It'll find you. Don't worry. You're gonna know when the next when Miro comes back. You'll know. You don't have to know like 30 seconds after it happens. Like,
wait, you're talking about Miro? He's here right now.
Hey, bro, that's my guy. That is God's favorite champion.
We have a watch.
Long story short, man, it's just trying to stay positive. And I know that sounds dumb because for a lot of people it's a lot harder,
Yeah.
But there's resources out there. I was gonna start taking, I forget the name of it, but I have the card here somewhere. It's I think it's right here. Healthiest You. It's provided by my job, and it's at any point, at any time, I can log into this, and I have a therapist that I can talk to. And there's several therapists there, and if you don't like this one, you go to the next one, and until you find someone you're comfortable with. I've been trying to work myself to that because I'm, as funny as it is, I'm very private, but that's kind of stupid to say because if you listen to my podcast, I talk about
yeah,
everything
very private person. But let me tell you about my whole life story. Yeah,
I tell you everything about my life on my podcast, but like to talk to another specific person about that, it's weird. Yeah. I went to therapy before we got separated, and that was not a fun experience for me at all. I don't think I had the right person. And it felt. The problem is that, and this is gonna sound super self-centered, but I didn't feel like I was the problem. So it's like, I'm
Yeah.
going to therapy and you're not. And I don't even understand what I'm supposed to be telling this guy. Because I'm like, I want to tell it to you, but you, whatever. Now getting too in the weeds about
No, I
my
get it.
own
I get it.
personal
Yeah.
thing. But again, me doing the personal therapy thing with that dude, it didn't work out. But that's why I'm a little hesitant to try this. But it's there. So it's available to me. So
Well, and I think it's kind of like your experience with church too. Like you you found that one pastor or priest that was spoke to you. Now, not every priest is going to be like that. I remember, back when I was growing up, we had a Methodist minister that I really enjoyed his sermons because he was very logical. He was very he rationally broke things down in a very logical way. And then when I went to college, I tried to find a church to go to, and I couldn't find that same thing. I also went to therapy with it. I had that through my previous job. They had that same thing where you get 5 free sessions, and I was in a really dark place, and so I went, and I remember talking to this guy, and it felt like I was almost putting him to sleep because it was like I felt like I'm telling him my problems, and as I'm saying them, I'm realizing this isn't, why am I here? This is, in the same kind of thing. It's like other people were causing me these issues,
right,
but I was the one seeking help for it.
right,
You
right,
know,
exactly.
and I think a lot of people do that. It says a lot that you were the one that sought help. You were the one trying to fix the situation.
Yeah,
And that
and
says a lot.
it's funny because later, after all this shit happened, she finally decided to go, and then she's like, "Oh, I see now what happened, and I'm sorry." And I go, "Well, bitch, it's too late now. I'm gone, and I'm not coming back.
Yeah,
Ain't no coming back from this." So once
that's good.
that's the reason why I stayed. A lot of people, when I tell them that I stayed there for 6 months, they're like, "What the fuck?" And I go, "That's why I stayed, because I didn't want to just be like, I'm out, and then immediately bounce, and then, not try to figure out what was going on or try to work on our problems. We tried. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we went through our shit, and then we tried talking, and then we spent like 2 months not talking, and then there was little things here and there, and she was trying to I realized I had to leave when she was trying to get relationshipy again. Like one day she was like, um she bought a can of paint, and I'm like, okay. Then she's like, "Oh, I want to paint the bathroom green and whatever." And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, "I'm not painting shit."
Good for you. Good for you.
I was like, one of my finer moments, because I looked at her, and because before, everything was like, "Yes, honey, okay, honey, anything, honey, whatever to make you happy, I'll do it. I'll paint, I'll climb the fucking building, I'll
Yeah.
jump off of the fucking roof, whatever you need me to do." But I immediately was like, in my head, I was like, we're not even together. Like, I was like, I'm not painting shit. And then when I said that, she tried to give me a guilt trip. And I was like, "Are you like," and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get the fuck out of here." That's when I was like, "Oh, I gotta get the fuck out of here." And it was just I think a month later, I was packing my shit. I threw all my shit in the truck and I bounced.
But see, I almost feel like you had to spend that 6 months to really truly purge yourself from any of those what ifs.
Yeah.
Because you tried. Like, there's no doubt. I mean, that you tried. In that moment where you told her to kick rocks for I'm not painting shit, that's a victory. That if you had just left, you would have had all these what ifs. Did we try? Did we try? So I think that's very important, and it kind of goes back to what we're talking about too is your quote is that I think that there tends to be this assumption that whenever there's a relationship problem, a lot of it's the man's fault. and it takes two to have a problem. It takes two, but I think a lot of times, there's for every there are women that are mistreated, and that's a truth, and
Yeah,
that's a thing. But there's also the Amber Heards of the world, and you have to take and I think when we start to paint
girls
groups,
shitting on the
whether
bed.
yeah, exactly, drop the grumpy. I love that. But when you start to paint groups, whether it's a gender group, whether it's a belief group, whether it's a political group or a wrestling group, when you paint them with that such broad brush, you're not, everybody's an individual, and every individual case is different. And I think Amber Heard did more to harm legit victims of abuse, because now with her thing, there's going to be a lot of people point, well, what are you, another Amber Heard? And
Yeah.
it's doing a lot of damage. It's hard to stay positive, and even positivity gets attacked. Are you familiar? Have you heard people say the term toxic positivity?
I thought you were gonna say masculinity. I've never heard toxic positivity. What the
Okay,
hell is that?
toxic positivity. Well, we could talk about the term toxic masculinity too, because I think that gets thrown around a little way too much. But toxic positivity, and I think some people misuse it because I've heard it reference different things. It's kind of like the word woke. Sometimes I think people use it for different things, but it's that people are too positive and not real. And I don't know. Is there? Do you think there is such a thing as toxic positivity?
Well, when I think of that, the way you explain it to me, I think of a Dave Chappelle bit that I heard many years ago that he did on a small stand up show at I think it was well, it doesn't matter where it was. But he was talking about how he read this book, The Secret, or somebody gave him
Yeah. Okay.
this book, The
Yep.
Secret, or whatever, and he was like, I read this book and I read like 3 pages and I just threw that shit in the garbage. And he's like, do y'all motherfuckers know what this bitch says the secret is? She said the secret is you have to mentally imagine the things you want and they'll come to you. And then he goes, I hate to butcher his bit,
No.
but he goes, oh, so tell that shit to them starving kids in Africa. Like when you go to Africa and one of them kids is like, oh, I have not eaten in 3 days. And you're just supposed to go to them. No. The problem is you're supposed to be thinking about a hamburger and sandwiches and things of that nature, and
Manifest
they'll come
a
to you.
chicken leg, or manifest
And then
a
he's
Big
like,
Mac.
yeah, exactly. He's like, you're supposed to manifest that stuff in your mind, and it'll come to you. And the kid is like, no, please, oh, stop talking about food. I'm so hungry. And then he had a brilliant line to finish that bit off, and I wish I could completely remember it. But he says, see, the problem is that you have a poor attitude about you're starving to death. I butchered that line, but it was like brilliant, where he's basically saying like, yo, yeah, it's like you're starving. You have a poor attitude. You have a poor mental attitude about you're starving to death.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I kind of feel like that toxic positivity thing is kind of like, it kind of relates to that, because that's, I can see where somebody can be too positive about stuff for sure. There's being positive. You want to be like a positive person, right? Obviously, you want to glean positivity, but it's just kind of like, even when you go to work, there's those people that are always like, "Hey, all right, we're gonna have a great day today. Let's go, guys." And you're just like, "Okay, listen, bitch, can you like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Can you
Yeah.
shut the fuck up till like 8?"
Yeah.
So I can understand where it's that, but where I have where I can imagine that is a problem is like, so I've been seeing, and again, I am not the picture of health myself, but I've seen these videos of women who are, for lack of a better term, they're morbidly obese. Morbidly obese. And this is not thick girls. This is people who are going to have a lot of health problems very soon.
Yes.
And they're making these videos about I saw one the other day where this girl was like, oh, make how to be a good friend to your how to be a good friend to your overweight friends, and it was like, call ahead to the restaurant you're going to see if they have overweight seating for them. Check when you're going to a theme park to see if they have escalators for them to go up the stairs. And I'm watching this video and I'm like, yo, I swear, if I went to my boy's house and he was like, oh, Lou, listen, we're gonna go, but don't worry, bro, I called Chili's and they have seats for fat people, so you're good. Bro, I would knock your ass out if you said some silly shit like that to me. I'm like, bitch, what'd you say? I wouldn't be like, oh, thank you for like. I'd be like, what?
What a
The
true
fuck you just
friend.
say to me? Like, that's where the toxic positivity thing can come into. And it's like some of these girls who do these videos, it's like, I understand, and I just want to reiterate this because I want to be clear because I don't want to get attacked. But I can understand you having a positive body image, even if you don't have a classic quote unquote, in shape body or whatever it is that people want to call it. There's beauty everywhere. Everyone's beautiful. I'm not trying to say anything like that, but to normalize people being like, I'm morbidly obese, okay? And I'm trying very hard to lose weight, but it's very fucking difficult. Okay, I've tried a lot of shit. I do fasting. I go to the gym. It's just, I'm damn near considering doing the bypass surgery, but I'm terrified of doing that shit. I'm not a skinny person, and I never will be. And I struggle daily with my issues with weight. So I'm not one to talk about anybody, how they look or whatever, but I'm not sitting here wearing a tank top and fucking going, yeah, I'm fucking beautiful and I can do this. Nah, bro, I need to lose weight. I'm fucking 46 years old and I ain't getting any younger. Father time is ticking away and I have to lose weight. And that's a reality. So
it's a health thing,
this being, I can see where toxic positivity can work itself in that kind of situation. So that's a new phrase for me. I can't believe I even heard that today. I have to now go research that.
I think I think it feeds into that, like you said earlier, that fake positivity. Because you're wearing a shirt of one of our favorite wrestlers, Willow Nightingale, and one of her classic sayings is, "Life is hard, but smile anyways."
Yeah, nothing matters. Smile anyway.
Yeah, nothing matters. Smile anyways. And I think that people people that want to be negative or they live in that negative world, they'll use that term toxic positivity to anything that's positive. And I think there's a big line between the fake positive, like that fake blind positivity, like you're saying, like you need to like these supermodels that are morbidly obese, or there's something wrong with you, versus like someone like Willow, who you're wasting your time being negative. You smile anyways. Like she's even said, I think it was on the it was either Renee Paquette or it was the Unrestricted. She talks about there are things, she's not always happy, but she smiles anyways, because why waste your time with the negativity? And I think there's a definite distinction between those two. And well, Lou, it's almost 2 hours, brother.
Woo! Time flies when you're having fun.
Time does, man. This has been a huge pleasure. I'd love to bring you back. We could do another two, man.
Yeah.
And I would, if you have anybody that you'd like to put on the Everything podcast, I know a couple people.
Yeah.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
We'll work this out. We will work this out for sure.
Well, any final thoughts of regarding mental health or just in general that you want to convey to everybody before we sign off?
Yeah, something you brought up earlier. I'm a big believer in, we have to be able to talk about things. Like, you have your beliefs, I have my beliefs. That doesn't mean that I think your beliefs are wrong, or I think my beliefs are the beliefs. It's just what I believe. But we should be able to sit down and you tell me what you think and I tell you what I think, and we meet in the middle, and whether we agree or disagree or whatever, we should be able to shake hands and be like, all right, well, cool. At least I was able to understand you, and I'd like to talk to you again or whatever. Because I just see like a lot of these kids, man, they whether it's you know, issues like gender affirming care or this the transgenderism issue going on in the country, like they don't want to fucking hear anything from anybody that doesn't like, they just don't care. They don't want to fucking hear it. And I don't mean to single out just them. I mean it's rampant in everyone's everyone's opinion. They feel like it's like the opinion. And I'm like, how do you have that attitude where, because I don't feel like I'm an expert in anything. I'm not. Who am I to tell anybody shit? I can tell you what I believe, and I can listen to you tell me what you believe, and then we can meet in the middle there. That's about it. I'm not here to tell you anything. I don't have a PhD. I'm not a doctor like
Dr. Lou from the Bronx.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist. So, again, long-winded, but I just feel like we should be able to sit and actually talk and get these ideas out and learn from each other, because that's the only way for people to like advance. Everyone's in a separate box, like, and you can't even see, like, you're all separating yourselves from each other. Yeah. And it's not good. We're the human race.
Yes.
Like, we may not all have to like each other, but we should at least be able to understand where we come from. So absolutely. I just think we need to, let's talk more talk.
Yes. More talk, and more podcasts like this, like the Everything Podcast, where we may be right or wrong. You may agree or disagree with us. And of course, you've got to be the Everything Champion right here. Look at that shiny thing. Look at that. If you want to try a challenge for that belt, you got to tune into the Everything Podcast.
I want somebody to take this from me.
Who's up for the challenge? Who's up for the challenge? Are you scared to take on the Lou in a truth challenge? Anyways,
actually, I don't want anyone to take that from me, because I just got it and it costs a lot of money.
It looks fantastic though.
So let me hold it for a while before you take it.
Yeah, you gotta get a long Roman Reigns run before
I gotta go 1,000 days at least.
All right, well, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time, Lou, for Lou from the Bronx. This is Ron, aka Mind Runner. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Catch new episodes of Mental Health Mondays every Monday morning at 7 a.m. Start your week off with a smile and some inspiration.